Good morning. This is Kim De Silva from Language of Relationships, and welcome to Spanglish World Networks on Zingo TV channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app from the respective app stores on iOS and Android devices. The app is free. While you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire and Fire TV sticks, Roku and Roku sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 forward. So today I have my lovely friend Linda joining us. She and her husband Vito, they are the two-person power team behind Unique Couples. So this is what Linda does. All right, she talks to other ladies. She and her husband help other couples navigating all of the ups and downs of marriage and relationships. Ooh, it's so much. Right?
Yes, and it is exciting, and of course, a lot of ups and downs could be in that as well, because we're dealing with relationships. But yes, my husband and I are just so excited to be able to minister, to help, to inspire and transform couples as they build and renew their relationships. So I am so happy to be here with you, Kim.
Pleasure. My pleasure is mine. All right. So, let's start with some of the easy questions, Linda.
Okay.
Why did you and Vito decide that this is what you want to do? I mean, like, you could just sit down quietly, mind your own business,
Yeah, easy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Not a lot of work, not a lot of yes. Okay. But I think, especially personally for me, I believe that it just was a quality, just something that you just felt inspired and knew that a part of your legacy of what you had to do was to help families, and of course helping that families would of course involve couples as well, help children and all of these different things. But it really started for us in terms of as a couple when we had Hurricane Dorian in the Bahamas. And that was just so devastating. People, in the northern Bahamas, especially Grand Bahama and Abaco, people lost their homes and lives, and property was destroyed. But it was like after that, we knew that families would be impacted, relationships would be, tendering on the brink of destruction as well. And it was like, we have to do this now. We were waiting for, 20 years into our marriage. But
Right.
then it was like 16 years. And we were like, you know what? We don't have another moment to wait, because relationships aren't going to wait. The problems that people encounter are not going to wait. And so we had to jump right in and just get started. And that's what we did. And that's how Unique Couples was formed officially. Yes.
I did not know that part of your story. You were telling me that, and I just got chills. But you're right. We have all these arbitrary numbers in our mind. I mean, you just now, my husband and I were celebrating 15 years this year. And part of it was like, oh gosh, I mean, 15 is great, wonderful, but maybe we should wait for that for some reason, that number 20.
20. Yeah.
It's like, we should wait for that. And it's like, but we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 5 years. Why wait, So it's like, oh, well, no. So I'm glad to hear that, you, as you said, you felt called to do it, and the time was now.
Yes.
Then COVID happened. Now, one of the things that I've been seeing a lot as well, when I go onto your page as well, you guys did a lot of work during COVID.
Yes.
I mean, it's like people like stuck home together more than before.
Yes. My husband would say, they're in this house with someone they barely knew. And it's like, hold on, I'm used to the guys hanging out with the guys, or I'm used to being by myself. And then suddenly I'm it's trapped in this home that I'm working so hard to pay mortgage or whatever for, to finance. And I can't live in this house with the person that I married. And that was a problem. So we found that a lot of couples kind of like struggled and even separated during COVID and after. But we kind of did a lot to try to help people, give relationship advice and tips and strategies that they could use to connect, get closer, so that they could, thrive through the situation
Exactly.
supposed to, yes, supposed to,
Yeah.
destroying their relationship. Hmm.
I mean, I remember making jokes, and they really weren't jokes, but about it, one of when things were opening back up, that the longest lines would be outside the divorce lawyers
Hmm.
offices. But that had a lot more truth to it than we realized. um and this is one of the things I thought was most telling during COVID. It was like,
Hmm.
we do not know each other. We share a house, we share a bedroom, we share a bed, but very often we're so busy wrapped up in our own lives, we
Yes.
forget that there's a whole person there, and we've really forgotten who they are and what they're about.
Hmm.
And
And it's amazing because you think the lines would have happened just after, things open up with COVID.
Mhm.
COVID is gone and the lines would have stopped then. But
Yeah,
amazingly, years after COVID has passed and all of that has gone, we are now seeing more and more couples deciding they're not going to follow through with their marriage anymore, with their relationships,
mhm.
long after the pandemic. And so it had an impact. Some
Yeah,
people did not um, thrive through it, function properly through it, and still some of them are trying to cope,
yeah,
still
yeah,
trying to figure out, who am I and who did I marry? And I
yeah.
think the who am I issue is really a problem.
Uh-huh. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, good. So, okay, who am I? Right. Now, that's an interesting point because, I mean, one of the things we're going to be talking about today is, some of the common mistakes that couples make. But that who am I question is very interesting because I know one of the things I've seen come up, it may not be number one on the list, but one of the things I've seen come up is that, sometimes now for some ladies, they might feel they get to that point where it's like they've tried to avoid conflict for so long that they've kind of suppressed who they are, and they've suppressed what their needs are. And
Hmm.
then it kind of gets to a point where it doesn't bubble over, it explodes.
Yeah.
Let's be real, right?
Explosion.
Exactly. It's never anything gentle. You
No,
don't know.
no.
So, I don't know, this issue of who am I and what do I need, there are two sides of it, right? I mean, there's the part where like we can overdo it, but then there's also the part where it's like, no, we actually do need to address that as well. I don't know. What's your take on that?
Well, I think the biggest issue, one of the biggest issues is of course that question, who am I? What do I want? What are my needs? What are my goals? What do I like? It's just like knowing yourself. What do I value? And when we are lost to that as ladies, men too, but most of the times, it's us struggling with this identity of who we are outside of everything else. And so when we don't know who we are,
Yeah.
it's just so much more difficult to try to communicate to someone else what it is I need, what is it I want, because I don't know.
I
I'm
don't
still
know.
unsure. And so that causes conflicts in relationship because you don't know who you are. You don't know what you value. You can't communicate your
Mhm.
expectations, your needs, and
Mhm.
then you kind of like give your partner not no room to stand on. You actually have them failing before they start because you don't know who you are.
Correct. And this is one of the reasons why I say it's very important to be able to define certain things for yourself. Like, how can you expect somebody else
Yes.
to provide a certain level of support or care, or even that word communication? I'm always talking about this. We default to the word communication. Like, do you know what you mean when you say communication?
Yes.
It's just like, yes, you need to understand your own needs, your own desires, your own circumstances. And that's the other thing. It's like we're just like so busy
Hmm.
thinking, I want this, I need that, but like, what is it? What is it?
Yeah. So we just say, "Oh, I love him and he loves me," and then we get into this relationship, but we oftentimes don't take time to dwell, to kind of like dig deeper and
Mhm.
talk about the issues that really concern us in our relationship. And so we gloss over it, And so when problems come and troubles come, like they usually do, right? We can't adjust because we never really discussed, we never really talked, we never dealt with these deep pressing issues.
Exactly, exactly. All right. So, I mean, I have a couple of things I wrote down in terms of, common problems that
Mhm.
I noticed too. I don't know if you have your list or, anything
Yeah,
at a
I thought of a few common mistakes, and some of them probably wrapped up all, you can probably put them in a
specific.
category with one or two, but yeah, we'll kind of like break them down to make it simpler. But yeah, so I thought of some that definitely would lead to problems in relationships. Hmm.
All right.
Yeah. So the first one I really thought of, this is in no order. I just thought that I'll mention this one. Um, and it has to do with demanding more than they are giving. And this is what people do in relationships. They
More.
demand more. Yes, I want him to give 100%. I want her to give 100%. You're demanding that your partner do all of this, but then
Mm.
you want to hold back and give minimum. And that is not going to work. And that is an issue, a problem that would definitely impact relationships. You can demand more than you give. And
Mhm.
even if it's vice versa, where you are giving more than you have in return, you have to start with the mindset and know that, guess what? In relationships, sometimes it will be 50-50, but guess what? In reality, it's never 50-50.
Mhm.
Sometimes your spouse will be giving 80% and you're giving 20, or you might be giving 80% and your spouse at 20%, and that's
Mhm.
just because of where you are in your relationship and the situation that you are encountering. But together, you're supposed to be at 100%, not, you know, um, okay,
Right.
so he'll give this and I'll give that. No, your
That's
100 and his 100 is still going to give you 100%. So there'll be times when he is not giving that,
yeah.
but you have to be the person who's carrying the weight. And then there'll be times when you're not giving it and your spouse will be the one carrying the weight. So we have to kind of like depend on each other in a
Yeah.
relationship and not just think about, okay, I'm giving, so I need to get, and just think about give and get. Sometimes we have to think about the relationship as a whole and not just me.
Exactly. And not just me, not just me, not just what am I receiving out of this. And this is one of the things that I think is super important to look at as well. It's that it's never all right. There are times we want to reflect and see where we can improve. Fine.
Mhm.
But it's so easy to get caught up in the negative of it. And exactly that spot. It's like I do all of this. What are they doing? It's like, well, that may not necessarily be the correct question. And I think tied up in that whole issue of demanding and expecting our spouses to give more also comes up the issue of gratitude and appreciation.
Definitely.
And when that's missing, when we can't take the time to acknowledge and appreciate what is going well, that's a missed opportunity.
Oh, definitely. Big time. I call that and that leads to one of my other points, but I really don't want to go there before. I don't want to miss the me part of it. I don't
Okay.
want to miss the me part of it. The me, I have this. The me, I call it the me syndrome.
Right,
So
right.
going back to this me part of it, right? The me syndrome is where couples or an individual in a relationship find themselves just not considering, sorry, the health of we or us. It's all about me in the relationship. So if it's all about you in the relationship, then of course the relationship as a whole will suffer because it's just me,
Mhm.
what I need, what I want, and not considering your spouse, your partner, not considering, whatever type of relationship it is, the other person. Just me,
Me.
me, myself, and I. And that is a big issue that will, that is definitely affecting relationships today.
It
Mhm.
is, it is. And I mean, okay, come on. We know it is easy to happen because, all right, you exist within your own skin. I mean, obviously, your sensitivity to what is happening to you is going to be higher.
Yeah.
But this is where the conscious brain needs to kick in and remind yourself, it's not me, me, me. There
No.
is a we to consider
Yes.
here. And what am I doing to impact the we? And while on that note too, it's like while we're busy watching what our partner is doing, just remember, just take a couple minutes from that to reflect on what am I doing.
Yep.
So it's like, oh gosh.
That's like when you point the finger, right?
Yeah.
One goes this way and 3 or 4 goes the other way because, hey, we have to watch ourselves and look at ourselves too in terms of our output. How are we reflecting, or what are we reflecting to our partner as well, and not just us looking at our partner. We have to kind of like take the mirror and look at ourselves in the mirror as well, and not
Exactly.
just focus on that. And I know you
Exactly.
mentioned gratitude, and that is a big, that's like a, I think that's like a juicy problem solver. Just being able to do that, the gratitude part of it, it's like I'm looking at my spouse, and although I can count 20, 25, maybe 100 things that he doesn't do well, that I don't like, if I take the opportunity, the moments to just focus on, maybe it's 10, maybe I can't even find 10. Jesus, only 5 things that,
Right?
that he does well or that I like. If I focus on that 5, the 100 that he doesn't do well will pale in comparison. If I am just focusing on, oh, you're doing this well. I love how you do this, and just promoting and kind of like accentuating the positive of what he is doing, of what she is doing in your relationship. You're constantly edifying your spouse and just being grateful and expressing this gratitude audibly so that they can hear and see it and feel it and know that it's genuine. Amazingly, you get more of that. So some of the 100 that he doesn't do well or she doesn't do well will dim in comparison to the 5 that is just absolute, that you're absolutely grateful for and keep acknowledging and just so happy about. It works. It works. Like I remember early in our relationship, right? In our marriage, I think I would share this in our How to Strengthen Your Marriage group as well. But I was like, we were like newlyweds, home, got a new home and everything like that. And so it was time to take out the trash. I think we did discuss this. Amazing. We did discuss this during our counseling sessions, like who will take out the garbage. But it just so happened that, okay, yes, we discussed who will take out the garbage, but now it's actually time to take out the garbage. And day 1, I asked, could you please take out the garbage? I mean, first I expected it to be taken out and it wasn't. And then day 2, I'm like, can you take out the garbage, please? And, like he forgot still. And I'm like, okay, can you take out the garbage, please? It's like, I felt like I was nagging. That point, like you ask the same thing over and over again. And I'm like, nagging, you know what? Let me switch this. Let me, I learned quite a bit. So put in practice what you've been learning and all that stuff. So instead of doing that, I, when it actually did, the garbage actually did go outside, I was like, oh my goodness, thank you. I'm just so happy. I just don't like the scent of the garbage in the house. I was like, thank you so much for taking out the garbage. And I was like, all about, oh, the garbage is out. And I was so excited. And I never had to worry about that problem again. But it's simple, right? It seems simple, but the act of just being so grateful for what your spouse does do kind of leads to, you know what? I want to hear some more of this praise for other things.
Exactly.
So I think we need to kind of work that, and it's just a human condition. We just love to be praised. We love to get attention. We love to be told that we're doing something good and nice. And so use it on your children, use it on your spouse, use it on yourself, and watch this play out in your relationship to bring more positive outcomes, not just for one area, but other areas as well.
Exactly. Now, I mean, you and I have been in the online space long enough to know that the first criticism that comes is like, well, I shouldn't have to acknowledge
Yeah.
someone doing the bare minimum. That's what they're supposed to be doing anyway.
Mhm.
And I have my take on that. My take on that is I see you. I see where you're coming from. I see the frustration and the resentment underneath that
Mhm.
statement. My other consideration for you is why not? Because is holding on to the resentment working for you right now?
Exactly.
It's probably
Yep.
not.
Yep.
So yeah, it what takes more effort for you? To be angry that you quote unquote have to say thank you, or you could flip that you get to say thank you.
Yes. Get to.
You get to say thank you, or enjoy the fact that it's been done and that you've probably created an environment where it's going to
Yes.
be done again. It's like so much of our relationship issues to me, we could it comes back to the me. If
Yeah.
we just stop thinking so much about ourselves and why do I have to do this? Why do I have to feel this way? And start thinking about how is this benefiting us?
Mhm.
It would make a huge difference. It's like this is the thing. You cannot change your partner.
Nope.
So work on what you have with you. Deal with how you are perceiving things. Deal with how you are reacting to things, and create that environment. Anyway, that's. I mean, we know that that's it's a huge
But
topic.
yeah. Yeah. I like how you said though, I get to, not
Yeah.
I have to. And just that change of perspective
Mhm.
makes a big difference. I get to love my spouse. I get to, you get to, even
Yeah,
with the problems and the issues that come, you get to, because guess what? There are some people who want what you have
this is it.
and would, kind of like kill for what you have because they see the value in it. But then when we're inside, we kind of tend to have a limited view and perspective, and we kind of magnify the negative as opposed to
The
doing that with the positive.
Mhm.
And so it's easy
Exactly.
to say, oh, this is wrong, that is wrong, this is wrong, instead of focus on what is right. And it's
Exactly.
like, I get to do this. I get to. I get to,
Yeah.
not I have to.
Not I have to.
No,
Exactly.
I
And
get
this
to.
is, if we want to make a biblical reference, there's that idea of in all things give thanks.
Mhm.
Now, it's not give thanks for all things. There's a huge difference
Yes.
between those two statements. There are bad things. There are negative things. There are things that no, we don't give thanks for it. However, what we recognize is even in the midst of those things, something else is still working,
Yes.
and
That
that
is
is what we're taking it. That is where we're coming from. So it's like, oh my gosh.
take it out, take it out, take it out. And when we think about I think you mentioned it earlier about how, people would focus on their spouse in
Mhm.
terms of what they're doing wrong. I
Yeah.
also know that sometimes one of the mistakes, common mistakes that couples make, especially ladies, don't feel like I'm picking on you, but
We've been there. We said some of
yeah,
them we've been
I
ourselves.
can speak more from a lady's perspective. Okay, so I'm talking to the ladies right now, and it's the MYOB. Kim, I don't know if you have that where you are, but I know that's a big problem here. Yeah, Caribbean wise, of course. I know some of my friends in the U.S. and Europe would kind of like give me a thumbs up for this one as well. But it's the major problem. MYOB. This is what people don't do, but they need to mind your own business. So they look at other couples and see what's happening in their relationship and they compare. That's one. And then they look at other people and want to take on their drama and their problems. Girl, you see what happened with her. And, all this gossip about other people and what's happening in their lives, as
Mhm.
opposed to using that energy to work on the problems and fixing or improving their relationship,
Mhm.
their personal
Mhm.
health, their professional development, their relationships. Instead of focusing on their relationship, they're focusing on other people's relationships, other people's problems,
Exactly.
which of course gives all of the energy to something else and
Yeah.
not to what needs to be addressed. I mean, there are several reasons for that, but yeah, we need people to do that. Mind your own business.
Yeah,
Mind the business that pays you, your relationship, your life. Focus on that. Focus on getting the help that you need for your relationship. Focus on what you can do to improve your
you.
relationship.
Exactly.
Instead of just focusing on what other people are doing, what their problems are, and then ignoring yours. So
Exactly.
that's a big mistake.
It is. I mean, perhaps if you want, you see what's going on, and then you could look at that and learn a lesson.
Yes.
The most constructive thing you could do with it. But hopping on it and telling other people about other people's problems, that's not helping.
Not healthy at all.
No. And actually on that whole issue of mind your own business, I mean, I know this is something we've talked about in the past as well. Your business is sort of like, it's your business. It's between you and your spouse. It's not
Yes.
between you, your spouse, and your auntie and your mommy and your, your best
Your
friend.
friend and your cousin and your friend
No,
and yeah, your coworker and everyone else in between. Nope.
no, it's
No.
not. So stop taking your dirty laundry to air outside. I mean, as I said, there are issues where you will need to seek outside help from a professional. And in
Yeah.
those cases, of course, that's different from taking, things that your husband has or your wife has confided in you and talking about it with other people, or taking your argument you had over the garbage
Yeah.
and letting it escalate into a much bigger issue because other people are adding their 2 cents based on their own experiences and their maybe jaded view of relationships too.
Mhm.
So it's like,
Definitely. So those are big mistakes that and it's a process. It's not, oh, we have it all together and we don't make these mistakes. It's a process. Like you learn one lesson and then maybe it's time to learn another. So
another
it's a
one.
process even for me. And this one is, I didn't even have this right written down, but it's just something that could be so easily missed and we take
Mhm.
it for granted. And that is taking your spouse for granted, or not being intentional about your relationship and just, okay, he's there, she's there. And we
Yeah,
just take it for granted. We
we
don't
do.
maximize the opportunities that we have to connect, to grow, to learn, to do things together, to have fun, to create new experiences, because
Exactly.
we think, he'll always be here. She'll always be here. They'll always be around, which really doesn't have to be the case.
No, it
So,
doesn't.
yeah, we have to do more um, about making sure that we really don't take our spouse for granted.
Mhm. Mhm.
Don't neglect our relationship. Don't put it on the back burner. Don't think, oh, yes, he'll understand. Yes, night 202 and we have not connected. We didn't have a date night. We didn't have time for ourselves, but he'll understand I'm busy.
Yeah.
He'll understand, work.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to say it's not about them understanding. It's about me doing what I know needs to be done in a healthy relationship. So one time, yes, they'll understand. But don't make it
Mm.
2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 times. And before you know it, you reach 30 and 30 instances, 30 times, and you realize that you've taken your spouse for granted.
And now it has implications.
Yes.
And you're absolutely right. There's a part of us that, it happens once or twice, and then our spouse understand what's going
Mm.
on, that we are occupied with something else. But as you said, what are we waiting for? Are we waiting for the understanding to dry up? Are we waiting for them to voice a complaint? So we shouldn't have to wait for that point. As you said, we need to recognize for ourselves, I want to make time for my spouse. But again, on this issue, and I know we would have some of our viewers here they'll be on the other side of that, right? They'll be the ones saying, but I am always trying to make time. I am always wanting to spend time, but they don't want to do stuff with me. Now, why? Why? What's underneath that?
Yeah, I like how you said, waiting for the understanding to dry up. And that's powerful. like, what are you waiting for true? Like, waiting for the understanding to dry up. Oh man, that hit me to the core, because, I know, like, I'm just sitting here thinking, okay, last week I said, okay, we'll do this then. And then something came and interfered. And then the other day something came and interfered again. And there was another interference, and we didn't do, and that promise was not kept. And
I
so,
know.
I'm like, what am I waiting for true? So sometimes we just have to kind of like drop everything else and make sure that we are prioritizing our relationship and our partners. We have to do it.
Exactly.
We definitely have to do it.
Exactly. And again, Linda and I are having these conversations. Yes, we help other people with these issues, but they're not, we still find ourselves in those situations because relationships are not static, and and we are constantly growing. So it's little things to be mindful of all the time. So surround yourself with people who can support you in this process. Be in spaces where you're getting good quality information, that those reminders, come out of all of those me environments, right? They're telling you about be all you can be and do all you can do for yourself, and it's your time now. I'm sorry to remind you of this. If you got married to somebody, yes, you have your goals and your aspirations, but you're not by yourself.
No.
Okay. And let's not forget that. That's not a bad thing. It means that you have built in a support system. You have a built-in cheerleader, as long as you're during the relationship to create that.
Yep, definitely. Built-in cheerleader. One of the common mistakes that I also see couples making or having, and it has to do with that F word, forgetting
that effort.
Power of forgiveness. They're like forgetting that, the power of forgiveness, which is so needed, but and different areas too. So you need to be able to forgive yourself, for what you might have done to hurt your spouse or yourself in whichever way. Then you need to exercise the power of forgiveness to your spouse as well. And sometimes we hold on to that hurt, hold on to the pain of what he did or what she did, and we keep it, and we just hold on, and our fists are clenched. And of course, like you said earlier, holding on to those things, do you more harm. So you're holding. And what happens? It doesn't help the situation. So sometimes we just need to release, allow forgiveness to be a part of our relationship.
And it, again, to constantly come back to, we know these things are easy to say. They're simple to understand, but they are extremely hard to do. But the payoff, the end of it, of getting to that stage, and it's not going to happen overnight. If you've been holding on to resentment for years and years and years, it's not going to just disappear.
No.
But you get to take the first step in terms of like deciding, I want to let this go. And then figuring out how you can, and to truly mean it. But the thing is, this is a space where you can be all about me, because letting go of that resentment, being able to embrace forgiveness, that is about you. That is about freeing yourself.
Yeah, we say forgiveness is not for the other person, right? It's for you. Right? Yeah, it is for you. Because sometimes we think and we hold on to things and we think, oh, I'm drinking. It's like drinking this poison. Oh, I'm drinking this poison and my husband is going to feel it. No. So when that's what forgiveness, the opposite of being, of taking on this forgiveness is that you think you're holding on to this. It's like drinking poison, and you think someone else is going to be impacted, but the only person who really truly gets hurt is yourself. So we definitely need to use the power of forgiveness. And when we talk about forgiveness too, one of the things couples do, or people might do in relationships, is dredge up the past. I know you can talk about that one. Dredge up the past, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
The long filing cabinet. Yes, no, we have it. Yes, but you don't have to go pulling out the files every time.
No, every time. It's like it's right there, right there. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but as it relates to forgiveness and dredging up the past and all of them, sometimes it's kind of like connected. And I remember, on a personal level where, and I guess my faith comes in with basically everything I do as well. And sometimes I think we limit God with what he can do. And we don't ask for help in some of these ways, but even the power of being able to forget some of the things that happen. I'm not telling you to forget. I'm just telling you that that's something that I ask God for, to be able to forget the hurt or the pain inflicted to me by others, so that not only do I forgive, but also I don't have to keep replaying that hurt. I don't have to keep dredging up the pain of that memory of that event. And I ask God to help me with that. And so I don't hold on to it. So right now it might be where it's holding me and I'm crushed and I feel as if life can't go on. How can I get past this? But a month from now, I'm like, what was that again? Like, and it's like a fleeting memory. And so the connection of just being connected with God and in a way that you ask him for help with the things that, people might say, okay, there's another way to deal with that. But ask God too. That's what anything with your relationship. Ask him, and he'll point you to the right people, the right places, and there's nothing hard for him, and he can also just do it for you.
Just do it for you. Exactly. And you never know. Just ask. Just ask.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll probably tell you, yes, this is meant to change you and to develop you, but you know what? Just ask. You never know. Just ask. Actually, I remember listening to it was a sermon, and the pastor was talking about, they were in a group session that was around relationships and forgiveness and all of that, and there were these two ladies there, and then one of the ladies turned to her friend and said, well, do you remember the time when, and talked about something that had happened within their group and with their husbands or whatever, and he said the friend's response was, I remember deciding to forget about that.
Yes.
I was like, oh,
love it.
Okay. I decided to forget about that. All right.
Sometimes we need that. We just need a clean slate. Like have a ceremony, have a burning ceremony or something. You and your spouse just go write down all of the offenses, write down everything that, hey, whatever, do however you want to do it. Go ahead and just together, let's burn that. This is in the past. From now on, let's move forward into our new. This is us. Do a vow renewal. Just do something to mark this is us moving forward. So when you have those struggles and problems and issues, and maybe you did not respond how you needed to, maybe you didn't say the right thing, maybe you didn't do the right thing, and you are at the point in your relationship and you're deciding that, hey, we're going to work on it. So start at this moment. Going forward, it's something new for us. Mark it. Make it a memorable occasion. Go and take a picture. Do something to mark. This is us celebrating our new.
Exactly. And, often people will say, but how do you forgive infidelity? Like, that is something you have to... you have to deeply commit to. You and your partner. You have to commit. If you are the person who was wronged in that situation, it's that decision to can I let it go? Am I ready to let it go? Am I willing to let it go? And of course, the partner who committed the act, it's also their responsibility to be committed to renewing the trust and behaving in a way that will inspire that trust again. But so I'm saying that even in some of the most difficult circumstances, it still starts with that decision.
Yep.
The journey through it may be longer for some things than others, but there's one common starting point. And
and that involves so many. When you talk about infidelity, that involves so many levels, and sometimes we think it should be, oh, it's going to be something instantaneous. It's just going to happen right away, and then we could move on. But sometimes it requires some divine intervention for yourself, where you process that, and then of course it's you and your partner processing that part as well, and then of course the circle. So we'd like to say the relationship is the most important issue. Sometimes we have these problems, but at the end of the day, like you said, what is going to be the most important issue? Is it going to be the problem, or is it going to be the actual relationship? That means, am I going to commit to my relationship and the health of my relationship, and that is going to be what is going to last through everything? Or I'm going to allow the problem to be more important than the vows that we took. So that's something like you apply to when you see these problems come up. It could be anything: health, it could be finances, it could be when you look at intimacy, it could be so many different things. It could be relationships with others, interfering with your marriage or relationship. When you look at all of those and the things that may happen, you have to ask yourself, what is the most important issue? And for us, the relationship is the most important. So everything else has to take a back burner, and we'll solve this together. We'll get this together and make it work. We'll get through it. And sometimes it's individual deciding that, and not necessarily, a couple.
Yeah.
But like I said earlier, sometimes you're giving your 80% and your spouse is giving barely anything, or you're giving, but it's not really 80. You have to give 100, because
100, 100, exactly.
100, you have to give. You have to.
Exactly. And I think just one of the last things I wanted to touch on, trying to fix our spouse.
Ooh. If we could do this, if we knew the secret, the formula for getting this, I think we could just rest assured we wouldn't have to lift a finger to do anything else. We just give out this secret formula to every woman, to every man, and our lives would be great. We would be the wealthiest persons on the planet. In fact, yes, in the universe.
Correct.
Power to be able to do that, because it's not in any of our powers. We cannot do that. We cannot. And when we, especially women, when we get into relationships, we think, especially, okay, we're single now, we see the problems. Oh yes, I'm going to fix that, and I'll fix that after marriage. We go in expecting to fix our spouse. We go in thinking that we can turn things around and we'll get this worked out. Of course, men usually think, okay, this is what I married, and this is what I expect to get for life. Sometimes that's physically, like, this is the shape I married, and I want this for the rest of my life. But no, we cannot fix.
We cannot.
We cannot fix. We can influence.
We can try. Oh, yes. Influence. Yep. But for many of us, we don't even want to take the work. We don't want to do the work to fix ourselves, to fix the things that within ourselves that need to be fixed, but yet we expect to fix somebody else. How are we going to do that? And that's not our place either.
No.
I think that's another thing we need to realize. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves when we decide that it's our responsibility to fix somebody else, and this one keeps coming up a lot. I see it in in the work I do, even the conversations that I'm having, the idea that in let's say more Christian or even more religious or faith-based marriages, there's the idea that, well, the husband is supposed to lead, especially from the spiritual aspect. And then there are a lot of wives who are like, but he's not doing it right. Well, I mean, I've been there. I understand why someone would say that, and I've listened to some very deep stories around that too. But what it boils down to at the end of it, it's not up to you to determine what that path looks like. That's hard to let go, huh?
Very. A struggle, a huge struggle.
It is. That's a topic. I know that's a 2-hour conversation by itself.
All by itself. But yeah, I the fixing, like you said, is reserved for what we do with ourselves, and we need to take time to work on us, understanding us and knowing us, and then we'll be able to and sometimes I guess help our spouse do the same, because sometimes we might be more alert, aware, than our spouse, and we can help them, but we mustn't act as if we are gods.
Right.
We are God, that we have the power to fix, because
we don't. We don't have the power to.
We can pray. Guess what? The prayer can also be to help change my perspective. So I'm looking at this and I see this is red. And the prayer might be like, this is something wrong that your spouse is doing, and it's red. The prayer could be, Lord, and you're praying for yourself and how you relate and react to the situation. And before you knew it, you're seeing pink. Because your perspective has changed. It's the same thing, but from a different angle. It's like, okay, this is what my spouse is doing, but let me work on how I react and how I relate. I don't have to meet fire with fire. No. She is doing that. I don't have to respond the same way. So the prayer could be, okay, maybe they don't tune down, but maybe I tune down. Or maybe I change my perspective on how I view what is happening, and that could make a difference, because,
huge
like you said, the only thing you really could impact is yourself. The only thing you could really change is yourself, not your spouse. You can try to influence them, but you cannot change them.
Cannot change them. That's I mean, there's so much to do on that, but we'll have to have another discussion around it. But in the meantime, Linda, I have enjoyed not just speaking to you today, but our interactions from before and the spaces that we get to share online. So if you could just let our viewers know, where can they find Unique Couples? Where can they find out more about you and what you do?
Well, Unique Couples is, on Instagram, you can find us at Unique Couples 242, and then Unique Couples, just Unique Couples on YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook. So on those platforms, you can just go ahead, search up Unique Couples, and you'll see the couple, us. You'll see the couple, us, on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. And then on Instagram, it's Unique Couples 242, because of course we have to bring the Bahamas in that.
This is what I was going to ask you.
Bring the Bahamas in. I see my good friend Stephanie. She's a marriage and family therapist here in Freeport, Bahamas, and she is on watching as well. Thanks for joining us. And I see Coach Deborah from Jacksonville, Florida, and she is here as well. She actually came over for a cruise, and actually came to do a mission work here in the Bahamas, and that's so good. So with all of you who are watching and you're considering a place to relax and rejuvenate and to revive your relationship, your marriage, you just want a new start, you want to kind of like overcome all the mistakes that couples make, and you just want to have a healthy relationship, come see us in the Bahamas. Connect with Unique Couples, and we will make sure that you have, maybe it's the couples retreat, maybe it's the couples getaway that you need. So connect with us. And of course, you can find me on Facebook as Linda Wright-Patrick, and just let me know that Kim sent you, and I'll make sure that you get extra special care and connected with us. And for those of you who are on Facebook, you can connect with Vito and I in our How to Strengthen Your Marriage Facebook group. That group is exclusively for couples, and we have a marriage club. And so we do retreats and workshops and all of that. And of course, we're adding the travel in it as well. So not just here in the Bahamas, but we also are looking at traveling outside of the country as well. So you can find us there on Facebook, and a group exclusively for women that I have is Women Reclaiming Love in Their Life and Relationships Facebook group. You can go ahead and join me in there. That group is exclusively for women. So you can connect with me through any one of those means and let me know that, hey, you found us on Spanglish. Did I say it correctly?
Yes. Spanglish. Thank you so much. And you can see Linda is fully committed to this work. So please do reach out. Find her on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the places, and see what tips she has for you.
Yes.
For that cruise, maybe.
Yes.
Wow. This show can be heard on Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, live it. Bye for now.
Bye.